We're live.
We are live. Hey, happy Wednesday. Chef Jason hanging out with my friends at the Colorado Beef Council. We are here in our kitchen studio tonight getting ready for Live with Beef. That's right. We used to do it on Fridays, but it seemed like everybody was busy on Friday. And then we switched to YouTube, and it seemed like, Julie, like nobody came to YouTube, right? So now we switched back to Facebook because apparently you all hang out here on Facebook. I'll tell you, we have a packed studio tonight, which is pretty solid. We have guests, which I think is the second time in the history of the studio we've had guests, so we're pretty excited about that. And we have a rancher with us tonight as well, because you have a lot of questions. We get a lot of questions from you about, let's say I want to buy Colorado beef. How do I buy Colorado beef? What does it look like? And I'm telling you, I brought the foremost expert. One of our good friends, Sally Miller, is going to hang out with us. Come on in, hang out. Let's talk. Welcome.
Hey, Jason.
How are you? Good to see you.
Good.
So, Sally, you tell them what you do. I'm not going to tell them. Go.
So I am a rancher from northeastern Colorado. We have cow-calf operation and a small feedlot. We will buy calves from others, and sometimes we raise them all the way out, and sometimes we sell after they've been started on feed and are ready to go a little bit further.
Some of the most beautiful, ginormous bulls I have ever seen in my life.
And they're all red.
Yeah, they're all red. They're red Angus. Kevin, her husband, and I went on a tour of the bullpen,
Yep.
and I will tell you, wow, is all I'm going to say. So one of the things we talk about when we do our lives is we always promote, if you want to buy local beef for your fridge, freezer, belly, all that good stuff, go to coloradobeef.com, go to the cooking tab, and there's a beef locator that will help you find locally produced raised beef. What is always the biggest question I get from people is, how do they do it? Like, what's the best way? Do I buy a half? Do I buy a quarter? Do I go in with some friends?
So that's the beauty of it.
Yep.
There's options.
A lot of options.
And the beef you're going to get from the producers is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And so if you get it depends on how much meat your family eats.
Right.
And how big your family is.
Yeah, because all the animals are different sizes.
Well,
right?
there's
Which
that.
determines,
Yep.
if you buy a half a cow, right? Half a steer.
Mm-hmm.
How much beef would you get on average? How much do you think beef you would get? And let's say a steer weighs 1,000 pounds. So if you split it in half and we say there's 500 pounds to a half, you don't get all 500 pounds.
Right. And
right?
so realistically, most steers today are going to be closer to 1,250 to 1,300.
Okay.
But then, when you kill them, they have a head that's pretty heavy. They have guts that come off and a hide that comes off.
Bones.
And so once you do that, though, you get to what we call hanging weight.
So the hanging weight is after the kill, before the processing into ground beef, steaks, roasts, that kind of stuff.
Right.
So hanging weight, let's say they went from 1,200, let's say 1,200 pounds.
Yep.
What would you guess hanging weight would be after?
60%, 60 to 64%, somewhere in there. And so, there's some math.
720. Yes.
Thank you. 720 pounds. See, I got some weight on
Listen, I am not that smart, but I will tell you that there is no way I would ever guess 720 pounds. But our studio guests, we bring brilliant people to the studio. Is what we're telling you. So if you net, well, you don't.
You don't.
So that's like the second gross.
That's what most ranchers are going to sell you based
Okay.
on hanging weight, because it's a really easy weight to calculate, and then once you get to net box is really dependent on how you want it cut. And
Okay.
so a lot of them are going to say, okay, so then you go to the we've taken it to the packer, it's hanging here, but then you tell them how you want it cut.
So that's when the cut sheet comes
That's
in.
when the cut sheet comes
So
in.
a lot of, and I bought beef and we raised beef for a little bit just to figure out what that looked like and how that was done. And I'm probably never going to do that again. A lot more work than I signed up for. But it's once you determine if you're getting a half or a quarter, then you get the cut sheet.
Right.
And the cut sheet lets you pick how you want that half or quarter further processed.
Right.
Into steak? We have steaks, we have chops, we have roasts. Or not chops, steaks.
Yeah, I was saying not many chops and beef,
steaks.
but
We have steaks, we have roasts, we have
you got ground beef, you
ground,
got brisket,
everything.
you've got short ribs.
Yep.
There's stew meat. There's lots of different things that you can have made. And the steaks, there's various different kinds of steaks. It really depends on how your family eats.
And then depending on that, it could be like, right, depending if you get more roast or less roast, like If they have to take more bones away, there's a little bit more loss. So it's kind of a sliding scale.
Yeah.
So let's say 1,250 pounds. Let's say you on a half you net 720 hanging weight. Then you process it.
You're
What do you
going to
think?
get about another 60% is what you're going to get yield. It's going to be your yield.
Okay.
So 60%
60%
of the
720.
That's about 440, 450.
Yep. And so you're going to get, so a half, you're going to get about 220 pounds worth of meat.
Okay.
And so yeah, it is surprising that you only get
Yeah.
out of that big of a critter, you only get that much meat because of all the bone that has to come off. There's fat that has to come off, and some of those items.
And if they're heavier fat,
Yeah.
right, that's going to be a little bit
Right.
more loss. And then, how long? I mean, if I'm buying 200 pounds of beef, how much ground am I getting, and how long should I expect 200 pounds to last me? I know that's kind of a loaded question
It's a loaded
because it
question.
depends on how much beef you eat. But I mean, on average, how much do you think? You know, if I ended up with 200 pounds net, how long do you think that would last a family for?
So for my family,
Yep.
we eat beef primarily. We
Right.
don't eat a lot of other proteins
I've
because
heard.
that's
Listen,
just the way
I've talked to your
we
husband.
eat.
I understand.
And a half will last us basically a year.
A half will last you a year for a
Yeah.
family of 3.
Yeah,
Right.
we feed an extra quite often.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, but yeah, so you know, it's one of those where some families, if they eat a lot of other proteins, a quarter lasts them, but some of them that half is about right. So it's somewhere in that neighborhood of quarter to a half for a year.
Yep.
And if you've got it in a deep freeze, no problem whatsoever for it lasting that year.
And deep freeze is one of the freezers that you have to manually defrost,
Right.
not the one that auto defrosts, which
You
you
don't
get
want it
half
in
the
your
time.
you don't want it in your refrigerator freezer. If
Okay.
you're sticking the meat in your refrigerator freezer, you want to use it within a couple months.
Okay.
Because that refrigerator freezer defrosts all the time,
Yep.
and so it just yeah,
Builds up ice crystals,
yeah.
ages it turns
Yep.
gray, it
Yep.
smells old, it gets stale,
Yep.
and it goes in the
But
garbage, which is not
The
what you want to do.
beauty of a lot of packers now is the Cryovac packaging.
Yep.
And so that seals it so nice that yeah, you get a long shelf life.
So I heard a couple things, right? I always hear people say, man, I just don't want that much ground beef. But ground beef is kind of a byproduct of
Yeah.
what you're ordering too, right? So you can pick kind of how much ground you want, but if you're going to order certain cuts more or less, you may end up with more ground beef.
If you don't want the roast,
Yep.
you're gonna get more ground.
They grind it.
Because yeah, if you say you don't want certain thing, what happens to it? It becomes ground beef.
Yep.
My family, it's so easy. You pull out a package of ground beef. You can make tacos. You can
Yeah.
make just about it. You know, I can make just
Chili.
about anything. I can make chili. I can make
Sloppy Joes.
yeah.
I know.
And
Sloppy
so
Joes.
it's quick and easy and fast. And so we use a lot of ground beef. But those roasts are super nice for throwing on the grill and throwing on the Traeger. And so yeah, it's
All that good stuff.
all that good stuff. So it depends on what you want.
Yeah, it's interesting. Just as people buy beef, all the questions that come up. Why do I get this or why do I get
Yep.
that? So definitely talk to your rancher. Talk about the cut sheet. And then would you say most processors are the same? Like they're not. So they don't have a standard cut sheet, or is it kind of vary?
Each processor will have their own cut sheet.
Okay.
Now, I mean, there's the standard cuts, so it's not like they can make things up. But there are some processors that do things a little, allow for a little bit more variety than others, because there's a few chuck roast steaks that some processors will pull out, and there's some processors that, since it's not a standard on their standard cut sheet, they're going to charge you a little bit more for it.
So if I tell them, like tonight we're doing tri-tip. If I tell them I want to get into the sirloin and get that tri-tip out,
I think all of them will get you a try.
most of them will do it?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep.
And that's good.
Yep.
So depending on what cuts I want, could be the difference between which processor you went with. Or
yeah, probably not, because if you talk with the processor and
Yeah.
tell them what you're looking for, they're going to get it for you.
okay.
The rancher really is the one that's going to have to set up the processor, because processing is set up pretty close to a year in advance. We have to book, even though the calves are not anywhere close to being ready, we have to guess, and we come as close as we can guess.
So
But
you make an appointment a year out.
I have appointments for March and May of 2023 at this point in time. And that because that's how far out you have to make the
Yeah.
and I know there aren't, every now and then you can slide one in extra, but pretty
Yeah.
much you're making appointments.
And then you're
10
raising
days
animals
out.
for those dates, basically,
Yeah.
and hoping that they grow accordingly and they're
Yeah.
finished and ready to go by then.
That's the hope. But but that's what the ranchers have to do, and we are pretty good at, yep, we know where we got to be, and we can get there.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, like we've always said, you can go to ColoradoBeef.com, cobeef.com, and go to the cooking tab. On the cooking tab, there is a beef locator map, and it'll introduce you to the millers. It'll introduce you to a lot of local ranchers, producers that can provide you with great Colorado beef and all different breeds.
Yeah. Oh,
so
yeah.
if you have a taste for
If you want grain fed, if you want grass fed, if you want natural, if you want,
Angus, Hereford,
yeah,
Limousine,
the various breed. Yeah, if you want
Yep.
a certain breed, it depends on what you want. You can look it up and you can find it, because we're not. Colorado Beef Council does not discriminate on their website.
Right. It's all about beef.
It's all about beef,
It's all
and
about
so
beef.
it's your taste buds. None of the beef is better or worse for you than another one.
Yep.
It's your taste buds.
Taste preference.
They're all going to taste just
Yeah.
a tad bit different,
Right.
and it's
Personal preference.
personal preference.
Personal preference.
But
All right.
Jason, you're the one that's going to make it taste awesome.
Well, we hope so, right? Like that's the ultimate goal. Anything else? Anything you want to share about buying local beef? I put it on the spot, right?
As I say, why don't we get started and see if some
Yeah.
comments come in? If we get a question or two, we can answer it as we go.
Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
You heard it. Let's get started. So tonight we are doing beef tri-tip tacos, and the great thing about this recipe is it's wonderful for now that your kids are back in school. Now that maybe the kids are coming home from college or they live at home, and you have active family life and things are going crazy. This is a great protein-packed dinner that really stretches. I mean, you out of a 2.5 pound tri-tip, you can easily feed your family of 4. Maybe have some leftovers to take on the road tomorrow with you if you want to make no leftovers.
No, well, not to you. It depends. Do you have 2 teenage boys, or do you
Right.
have
I'm a girl dad, so we always have
I
leftovers,
say you're
right?
gonna have leftovers.
So
right?
listen,
Yeah.
based on who you have at your house, you may have leftovers, and you can build a nice little handheld to take with you. I love tri-tip, man. I'll tell you what, from the sirloin, tri-tip delivers. It is lean, so it's definitely right there. One of the 33 lean cuts of beef, which is amazing. You get a protein pack that's solid, and I love the flavor of tri-tip's amazing.
It is.
Minerals,
Great.
iron. People always ask why I eat beef. Why do you love beef so much? I enjoy that flavor of beef. I really love the minerals. It's almost like feeling like you're connected to the earth. I like eating beets because I can taste the earth. I can taste the minerals. I can taste the iron. In beef as well, I feel the same way, and tri-tip delivers perfectly. So let me show you what we got here, and we will talk a little tri-tip. Now, we've got a lot of different toppings for our tri-tip taco. So is there a family favorite you have when it's taco time?
Ooh, taco time. Well, you got to have the salsa.
Salsa? Yep.
But that corn looks pretty darn good too.
It's corn season here in Colorado.
it is. Yeah,
And that
so
Olathe
fresh.
sweet corn's pretty solid.
Yeah.
Right? What about citrus? Like a little lime over the
A
top?
little lime squeezed on the top and a little bit of cilantro. And you gotta have some cheese, because you gotta support the dairy industry and have some cheese. 'Cause
Cotija cheese is one of my favorites. All right, let's glove up here. Stop tri-tip. Tri-tip is interesting too because there's basically 3 different kind of ways the muscle fibers run. Usually 3, sometimes 2, depending on the size of that tri-tip. Something you want to be aware of as well, because if you slice this not against the grain, if you happen to slice it with the grain, you're going to come out with some pretty tough chew, if you will. So, can you see that okay? Camera? All right. So, as you look at this tri-tip here, we trimmed this down today. It came with a nice, big, huge fat cap. Now, I'll tell you what, I have an extra one that is at my house with the fat cap on it. I'm actually going to try roasting it with the fat cap on.
you cook it with the fat cap on, and then you gently take the fat cap off,
Yeah.
because that fat juice dripples in and keeps it moist. And
See, there you have it. All right, so look at the way the muscles are running here, the fibers. You've got some strands that basically start back here and actually run out this way. So basically from here to here, all those muscle fibers are going that way. Then you get a clump that runs here to here that kind of go that way. Then you have that little tri on the end here, this little tip that runs that way. So if you're looking at the way those muscle fibers run, you've got a piece that goes here, you have a piece that goes there, you have a little bit that go there. So I always say just pay attention to this. This is something that's important to know when you're cooking it, seasoning it, and definitely when you're slicing it, because you want to make sure you slice against the grain to get that optimal tenderness. And especially when you're eating tacos, I mean, who
You
wants to
want it,
like
yeah.
chew on your taco?
Yep.
No one.
Yep,
No
so you
one.
slice it, you cut, then you turn it, and you slice it some more, and you turn it again, and you slice it some more.
Yep, yep. All right. A little bit of oil, just a light coating of oil. I use oil as a binder. You could use tallow. Tallow is one of my new favorite. Usually if I have a lot of fat in my brisket, I'll render some of my fat off. Tallow has been a huge addition to the binder industry. You could use other animal fats if you prefer. Got quiet all of a sudden. Did you hear how quiet it got when I said you could use other animal fats? Don't use other animal fats. Tallow works. All right, season this up. Pick your favorite seasoning. I always caution when you're seasoning beef, don't season it so heavy that you taste the seasoning.
Right.
Season it so that you taste the beef. I don't want someone to say, man, that seasoning you put on there was fantastic. I want someone to say, man, it's the best beef I've ever had. The best tri-tip I've ever had. Because it kind of tells you that you're seasoning the meat so you can still taste the meat, not overpowering it. And I like to get every little nook and cranny. Julie, how's the camera going over there?
It is going
It's
fine.
like, I just love this. It's like a family affair in here, man. We got everybody here. Oh, Beef Council family, we got Talco family. I'm telling you, solid stuff. So there you have it, just like that. Get that all seasoned. Now, what I like to do, and I know you'll see it on TV a lot, I like to, a lot of the restaurant chefs, TV chefs like to let their meat rest for a little bit. I'm like a 15, 20-minute guy. I just want it to rest for a little bit. I want it to soften up just a little bit. And then let's head outside and show you, we're cooking this on the smoker today. Beauty of tri-tip, it takes smoke wonderfully. If you're doing charcoal, if you're doing pellet, if you're doing gas grill, even goes good in the oven, but I'm definitely you like pellet grills.
I like pellet grill.
We're pellet smoking kind of people. So let's head outside and take a look. We'll show you what we've got. And through the magic of TV, we already did this ahead of time. And it's sunny today because I'm not sure why. Right? But all right, so here we are at the pellet grill. We've got our probe in here, our temperature probe. And basically, we sample just to make sure it's good. We've been smoking this for about an hour and 12 minutes. So we're at, we just hit 128 degrees, so we have a really nice color on this. We have a really nice cook on it, and we didn't overcook it. I always like to take tri-tip a little bit under, let it carry over. We always call it like the carryover finish. That way it just, it doesn't get overcooked. I always find when you're cooking beef, if I cook this to medium and I pull it right at medium, it's going to carry a temperature over. So I like to take it a temperature under and kind of let it do that carryover finish. So, I mean, what do you think? Do we look all right?
It looks beautiful.
We look all right?
But yeah, you always gotta let till you take it off and you let it sit on the counter for 10 minutes before you slice it because
Yeah, and that's what we're going to do?
Yep.
All right, so what I'm going to do here, I actually have another tri-tip that we have here. I'm going to put this guy on. We're going to sear that off crazy, crazy hot. And then let's take this guy back in the kitchen. We're going to let it rest for a minute while we get tacos ready. It's like the beef meat camera.
Yeah.
Everybody likes tacos. Sanitize our board a little bit here. And usually what I try to do when I've identified the grain, I try to watch how I place it on the cutting board or on the smoker as well. Then it just keeps it in my mind like, okay, it went on this way, this is where the grain is, we're good. Peppers as well. Yeah, the last thing you want to get, are we good?
Yes,
We're good?
we're good.
All right. Any questions rolling in we need to address or anybody we want to say hi to quick while we're meat resting?
We have people from Michigan.
Like it?
We have several people saying, "Did you say tri-tip?" And a comment that you can also ask your processor to how thick do you want your steaks
Yes, you can.
when
yeah.
you do your cut sheet.
On my cut sheets that I have seen, you get anywhere. You can do 3/4 of an inch. You can do an inch. You can do an inch and a half for your steaks. I've seen where they say this is what most people like, but you have your choice. You can make them thin. You can make them thick, and it depends on how you want to cook them and how fast you want them done and
Yeah.
personal preference.
What do you like? Thinner, thicker, medium,
I tend to
average?
go with the inch.
Okay.
It's the 3/4 of an inch is too thin.
It's like a minute steak.
Yeah. But you get, so that's just my personal preference is the inch. You get them too thick and, then
Freaking roast.
it takes too long to cook. But
I have some 3-inch thick cowboys in there. I'm doing a reverse sear on them tomorrow.
and if you know what you're doing with them,
Yeah.
That sounds pretty cool.
But I bought them specifically. I bought them thick specifically for that task.
Right.
But like normal, everyday hot and fast grilling, I'm probably 1.5 inches.
Yeah.
Where is the tri-tip from?
Sirloin. Comes from the sirloin, which is right before the hind quarter, right?
Yep.
Right before that. Yeah, and it's a good, I'll tell you, it's a good cut. As the animal thins out a little bit, it's the nice thing about it is there's some articulation as that animal moves, so you get really good chew and texture. It's not tough. You just get a really good chew. Almost, I would say it almost eats like the texture of New York strip. It's got a nice texture to it, a nice bite to it. And it's lean. The beautiful thing is it's super lean, but amazing flavor. I like Terrace Majors too. Those tend to be my favorite. Those petite tenders or mock tenders. They eat wonderfully. They're like tucked in there and they just.
Unfortunately, there's not many of those in a critter. Just
Two.
like there's not many
Two.
tri-tips in a critter.
Two.
And so yeah, that's part of the problem of.
Cracks me up how you guys call them critters. And I will tell you, and the best thing is I have a lot of friends that ranch and produce animals, and they all call them critters.
Yeah.
And it's just, and I always, it always just makes me chuckle. Like, not in a bad way, but. All right. Any other questions, comments, hostilities?
No.
No hostilities?
No.
I love it.
Wow. Well,
Let's go. We're done.
Yeah.
All right. So, what I like to do on here as well then is I'm going to start looking at that texture or those muscle fibers, and we'll cut that guy that way. I try to find them and identify them. So there's one. And then we're just going to slice this off on this end. So once you find it, you want to,
Yep, I'm coming in. How important is the knife you're using?
Yeah, super important. I would say the knife is probably the most important. You want it to be sharp. You're going to be more careful with a sharp knife than a dull knife. Because you know this knife can give you a little nick if it needs to, and you always tend to be a little more cautious. Now, see the way those muscle strands are running, those muscle fibers? You don't want to cut with that. Imagine that as a rubber band. If you cut with that, you have a long, stretchy piece of fiber to use. If I cut against the grain, look at that, much finer, eats better, chews better. Cut this thinner because we're having tacos tonight. That's definitely the way to do it. And then on this end as well, start thin. Usually on tri-tip, but if I'm eating tacos, I go thin. If I'm doing tri-tip for an entree, like that's my main protein for the night, I'll go a little bit thicker, just so I have something to maybe cut at my table, but easy, right? Just pulls apart. Super easy, pulls apart like that. All right, should we build a taco quick?
Oh yeah.
See what that is going to taste like. Taco plates. All right, so I like to load up my tacos, kind of let everybody kind of eat their way. I'll just use my hands, apologies. A little corn salsa on there. A little cotija cheese. I love that because it gives it a little snap of salt. And then we will cut a little, we have some roasted Anaheim on there as well. That we smoked and roasted on the grill. We
have someone else who likes to use the culotte for...
The culotte?
Yeah.
But that's good too. Absolutely. Yeah, the culotte's really nice.
And where does the culotte come from?
I have no idea, actually.
It's a top sirloin.
Is it top sirloin?
Yeah.
Jeez. It's like Stump the Chef night.
No. The guest
Yeah.
mentioned it, so...
Yeah, so... And I think the bavette actually comes out of the sirloin as well, if I remember right.
Could be.
Right? See? They're all over the place. All right, a little bit of lime. I think it does.
Flank.
Bavette?
I'm trying to think. The only time I've had bavette was at a French restaurant, and I thought it was flank.
All right, a little bit of cilantro. Taco time. So there you go. There's a beautiful, easy, fun tri-tip taco for you. And again, if you're doing it on charcoal, you're gonna get that beautiful, robust charcoal flavor. Pellet, we both love pellet because it just drives. I think everybody in here's got pellet grill. It just drives that smoke flavor in. Sorry, Julie's like, Julie just gave me that look like, do not have a pellet grill. We'll get you handled. I promise you that. All right, so there you have it. Super fast, super easy. We will post the link to this recipe on the Colorado Beef Council Facebook page tomorrow. As we always say, just a huge thank you to our farmers, ranchers, and producers for having us. and letting us host these events. We really appreciate it. And if you need to find today's recipe, other recipes, you can go to cobeef.com. Under that cooking tab, we have a ton of different recipes for you, the beef locator map as well. And then if you're looking for more information on beef and you want to expand your beef horizons, you could talk to a rancher, right? You could always ask your local rancher.
Absolutely, always
Right?
talk to a rancher. That's probably going to be your best set to get some of that information.
Yep.
And the Beef Council website, if you're looking for where a piece comes from, there's cut sheets on there. There's diagrams as to where they come from. All that information's on the Colorado Beef Council website.
Yeah, and that's the fun part of learning where your cuts come from, is getting onto the website. You can go to beefitswhatsfordinner.com as well. Get over there, look at those cut sheets, look at the fabrication steps, look at all of that, and you'll see where it comes from. And then it always talks about taste, texture, tenderness, and every single cut. Gives you the protein, gives you the vitamins, minerals. I mean, it's power packed. This smells absolutely amazing.
It does.
It's taco time. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Huge thank you to Sally for hanging out with us tonight. We always appreciate having guests. It's the first rancher we've had, so we're pretty excited about
Yeah.
it. And I don't think we're going to stop. I think we should have more and guests and hang out, right? Maybe?
It's kind of fun, isn't it?
How's the Wi-Fi at your place? Could we go live from your
Oh,
place?
absolutely. I've got good Wi-Fi.
Like in the middle of the pasture, we could go live?
Well,
That's stretching it?
middle of pasture might be stretching, but I bet we could.
Could we hang out with critters and go live?
Yes, we can hang out with critters and go live.
I think we should go live from a ranch.
That
Is
would
it
be
weird
fun.
though if we're cooking meat while we're live with the critters?
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Cooking meat out in the pasture, you don't have any power.
Gas grill. in
Okay.
the barbecue trailer. All right,
Okay.
we'll think about it. We'll come up with some fun things for you, but thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. We really appreciate it. And again, head over to cobeef.com. You can find the beef locator map, find amazing Colorado beef to fill your fridge, your bellies, your freezers, all of that good stuff. So thank you so much. We'll see you next month. Next month, we're going to get into comfort food because, listen, they launched pumpkin spice lattes today. That means, listen, it means fall is here. So next month, I think we're going to start talking about comfort foods. Maybe we'll do some pot roast. Maybe we'll do some chili, something fun like that. So stay tuned. We have a lot of cool stuff coming up. We'll see you soon.